The sterile white walls of the hospital room blurred as Ethan slowly opened his eyes. The beeping of machines was the only constant sound in the heavy silence that surrounded him. He blinked, trying to clear the fog clouding his mind. Pain throbbed behind his temples, and his body felt like it was drowning in weakness. He didn't know how long he had been unconscious. He didn't know where he was exactly. But what shook him the most was the woman sitting quietly by his bedside, the one he thought he knew. She looked at him with eyes that seemed too calm, too unreadable. Her fingers nervously twisted a strand of her hair as she spoke softly, "Hey, you're awake." Her voice was familiar, yet there was a strange distance between them. Ethan tried to smile but found it impossible. "Do I know you?" His voice was barely a whisper, cracked with uncertainty. His heart pounded fiercely, but the words that came next from her crushed something deep inside him. She looked away, then back at him with a soft smile. "Just a friend," she said. "Just a friend?" His voice caught in his throat. A cold wave of disbelief swept over him. How could she say that? How could the woman who once called herself his girlfriend reduce their years together to mere friendship with such ease? The room suddenly felt suffocating. Ethan's mind raced with fragmented memories. Laughter, promises, stolen kisses all erased in a moment. Was this some cruel joke? Was he really the stranger now? His heart twisted painfully between confusion and a burning suspicion. Why would she say that? Was she hiding something? Or had everything he believed about their relationship been a lie? As the dull ache in his head pulsed, so did the ache in his chest, a mixture of betrayal, loss, and a desperate need to find the truth. Ethan's fingers clenched the bedsheet tightly. He wanted answers but feared what they might reveal. The woman beside him reached out to touch his hand gently, but he pulled back, his eyes searching hers for any flicker of honesty. Why don't you remember me?" she asked, her voice trembling now. "I don't know," Ethan said, struggling to keep his emotions from spilling over. "I feel like I'm lost." Her silence was deafening, and in that silence, Ethan's mind began to spin 1,000 questions. Questions he wasn't sure he wanted answered. But one thing was clear, something was terribly wrong. That just a friend had planted a seed of doubt that quickly grew into a storm inside him. Had the accident wiped his memories, or had Maya's feelings changed during his absence? Was he really the man she thought he was, or a stranger she barely tolerated? The truth lay hidden behind her gentle smile and the mystery of those two chilling words. And Ethan was about to uncover it one painful piece at a time. Ethan had always been the kind of man who inspired trust. At 27, he carried himself with quiet confidence, the kind that wasn't loud or boastful but rooted in sincerity. His dark wavy hair framed a face marked by sharp cheekbones and expressive hazel eyes that once held nothing but warmth and tenderness. People often said those eyes could see right through you, reading your true feelings without you having to say a word. Before the accident, Ethan was everything Maya thought she could lean on. A rising architect in the city, Ethan balanced his demanding job with a natural charm that made him both approachable and dependable. His tall, lean frame moved with purpose, whether he was pacing through construction sites or walking hand in hand with Maya in the park on a lazy Sunday. Maya had described him as her rock steady and unwavering. His laughter was a comforting sound in the chaos of life, and his voice had a calmness that made her feel safe. But beneath his composed exterior was a man who carried his own quiet fears. Ethan had always been terrified of losing those he loved, a vulnerability he hid behind his warm smile. Maya, in contrast, was like a gentle storm. She was breathtaking with her soft chestnut hair cascading over her shoulders and deep brown eyes that held a secret sadness only a few had ever glimpsed. She wasn't the type to share her struggles easily. To most, she appeared cheerful and supportive, the perfect girlfriend who stood by Ethan through thick and thin. But Ethan knew there was more beneath the surface. She often retreated into silence, especially when life weighed heavily on her shoulders. Their story began in university, where their paths crossed during a group project. Ethan was drawn to Maya's quiet intelligence and the way she smiled when she thought no one was watching. Maya was captivated by his honesty and the way he never pretended to be someone else. Over the years, their bond deepened, weaving through shared dreams and whispered promises. Looking back, Ethan could still recall the early days when everything seemed perfect. Their apartment filled with laughter and music, spontaneous trips, and endless conversations that stretched into the night. They planned a future together, a home, a family, a life where nothing could tear them apart. But the accident had changed everything. Now Ethan felt like a stranger in his own life. The confident man who once lit a clear path was replaced by someone fragile and uncertain. The sharpness in his eyes had dulled, replaced with confusion and suspicion. The memories he clung to slipped through his fingers like sand, leaving behind only painful gaps. Physically, the toll was evident too. His once athletic build had weakened, his movements slower and more deliberate. The bruises and stitches from the accident faded, but the emotional scars remained deep and raw. Maya too had changed. Where she once radiated warmth, there was now a cautious distance in her gaze. Her smiles felt rehearsed, and her touch hesitant. Ethan couldn't tell if it was pity, fear, or something else entirely. The woman who had promised to stand by him seemed like she was holding something back, something he needed to know. Despite this, Ethan's core values hadn't wavered. Honesty was his foundation. He believed in facing life's challenges head-on, in confronting pain rather than burying it. His love for Maya was still fierce, but now mixed with a growing fear of betrayal. He wanted to trust her, but the "just a friend" comment echoed relentlessly in his mind, poisoning every interaction. Ethan's goals had shifted dramatically since waking up in that hospital room. Before, his ambition was to build a career and a family. Now, his immediate mission was to reclaim the truth, to find out who Maya really was and what had changed between them. Beneath the pain, a quiet resolve grew stronger every day. He would not be a passive victim of forgotten memories or half-truths. Fear gnawed at him constantly. Fear of losing Maya, fear of facing a reality he might not be ready for, and most of all, fear of never fully remembering who he was or who she was to him. Supporting this tangled web of emotions was Ethan's best friend, Arman. Arman was everything Ethan wasn't: bold, outspoken, and fiercely protective. Tall and broad-shouldered, with a perpetual smirk on his face, Arman had been Ethan's brother-in-arms since childhood. His loyalty was unquestionable, but his judgment wasn't always tempered with sensitivity. He often warned Ethan to be careful, hinting at secrets he suspected Maya was hiding but never fully revealed. Then there was Leo, the friend Maya had mentioned. Leo was a quiet, unassuming man who seemed to orbit around Maya's life in the shadows. Ethan hadn't met him before, but now Leo's sudden appearance was unsettling. Ethan's mind raced with questions: was Leo truly just a friend? Or was there something deeper, something threatening everything Ethan had believed? The contrast between past and present framed Ethan's daily struggle. From the joy-filled young man confident in his love and future, he was now a man walking a tightrope between hope and heartbreak. Each day was a battle to piece together a fractured reality, to reconcile the memories he couldn't trust with the truths he desperately needed. Through it all, Ethan held on to a fragile hope that beneath the "just a friend" and the silence, there was still the woman he loved, waiting for him to remember. It wasn't long after Ethan returned home from the hospital that the first crack appeared in the fragile world he was trying to rebuild. The apartment, once a sanctuary filled with laughter and warmth, felt cold and unfamiliar. Boxes sat unopened in the corner, and the silence was deafening. One evening, Ethan found Maya sitting alone on the balcony, staring out at the city lights. Her face was unreadable, her hands trembling slightly as she clutched a phone. Ethan's heart tightened with a mix of hope and anxiety. "Who were you texting just now?" he asked quietly, trying to sound casual but unable to hide the tension in his voice. Maya looked away, biting her lip. "It's nothing, just a friend." The words hit him like a punch to the gut. That phrase, so innocent yet so loaded, had haunted Ethan since the hospital. His heart ached, but he forced himself to stay calm. "Can I meet this friend?" he asked, his voice barely steady. She hesitated, then nodded. "His name is Leo. We've known each other for a while." Ethan's stomach churned. The man's name was unfamiliar, yet the fact Maya was reluctant to share more was telling. She had always been open with him, or at least he thought she was. Days later, Ethan saw Leo for the first time, a quiet man with an easy smile and eyes that lingered a little too long on Maya. The way Leo stood close to her, touching her arm casually, sent a sharp pang of jealousy through Ethan's chest. Maya's nervous glance in Leo's direction didn't escape him. The first argument was inevitable. Why didn't you tell me about Leo before? Ethan's voice cracked as they stood in the living room, the air thick with unspoken accusations. Maya's eyes flashed with frustration. Because it wasn't important. You've been unconscious, Ethan. I didn't want to burden you. Not important? Ethan's voice rose. You acted like he was just some casual acquaintance, but seeing you two together, it feels like there's more to it. Maya looked away, biting her lip. You don't remember everything, Ethan. There are things you don't know. Then tell me. Ethan pleaded, the anger giving way to desperation. I'm not a stranger. I deserve to know. The silence that followed was heavier than any words. Maya's shoulders slumped, her eyes filling with tears she tried to hide. I didn't want to lose you. But things changed while you were gone. Maybe I changed. The words hit Ethan like a wave. The woman he loved was no longer the same. Betrayal, confusion, and heartbreak collided inside him. He felt as though the ground beneath him had shifted, and he was falling into an abyss. Ethan's mind spiraled with questions. What had happened during his absence? Was Maya's friendship with Leo just a cover for something deeper? Was he really the man she thought he was, or just a shadow of who he had been? Armand, Ethan's closest confidant, soon noticed the tension eating away at him. You need to be careful, Ethan, Armand warned one night as they sat in the dimly lit cafe. There's more going on than she's telling you. I've seen how Leo looks at her. That's not just friendship. Ethan clenched his fists. I want to believe her, but every time she says just a friend, it feels like a lie. Armand nodded. Sometimes, the truth is the hardest thing to face. The pressure mounted when Leo unexpectedly showed up at Ethan's workplace, casually greeting Maya with familiarity that made Ethan's blood boil. Leo's presence was a constant reminder of the growing wedge between Ethan and Maya. One evening, Ethan confronted Maya again. I saw Leo at my office today. Why didn't you warn me he was going to be there? Maya's eyes flashed with something guilt, maybe? He has his reasons. Please trust me. Trust you? Ethan's voice was low, shaking with pain. How can I when you keep secrets? When I don't know who you really are anymore? The walls they had built over years crumbled in moments like these. Their love, once strong and unbreakable, now seemed fragile and uncertain. Maya's quiet tears and Ethan's simmering anger set the stage for a deeper conflict, one that would force both to confront their past, their fears, and the secrets they desperately wanted to keep hidden. Ethan lay awake at night, staring at the ceiling while the silence in the room pressed down on him like a heavy weight. His mind was a battlefield of conflicting emotions, love, doubt, anger, and fear, all tangled into a painful knot he couldn't unravel. Every time he thought about Maya, his heart ached with longing. The memories of her smile, the softness of her touch, and the warmth of her voice echoed in his mind, urging him to hold on. But then, the shadow of Leo and the just a friend phrase invaded his thoughts like a relentless storm, tearing at the fragile threads of trust he was desperately trying to rebuild. He wondered if Maya was telling the truth, or if the woman he loved had become a stranger while he was trapped in the hospital bed, fighting to remember who he was. The uncertainty gnawed at him. Ethan found himself replaying every conversation, every glance, searching for clues in her words and actions. Was there something hidden behind those fleeting moments of hesitation? Was she protecting him or herself? At work, Ethan's focus wavered. His mind drifted to the unanswered questions that haunted him. One day, he noticed Maya's phone left unattended on the kitchen counter. His fingers trembled as he hesitated, torn between respecting her privacy and the desperate need to know the truth. He didn't touch it. But the temptation lingered like a whisper, feeding the suspicion that something was being kept from him. Ethan felt trapped in a maze with no clear exit. Every step forward only deepened the confusion. One afternoon, Armand dropped by unexpectedly, noticing Ethan's hollow eyes and restless demeanor. "You're burning yourself out, man," Armand said, concern heavy in his voice. "I can't help it," Ethan admitted. It's like I'm living in a fog. I want to trust Maya, but my gut tells me something's wrong. I keep thinking about Leo, why he's here, what he means to her. Armand's gaze darkened. Sometimes the people closest to us hide the deepest secrets. That night, a cryptic text appeared on Ethan's phone from an unknown number. Not everything is as it seems. Watch closely. His heart raced. Was it a warning? A threat? He didn't know who sent it, but the message deepened the mystery surrounding Maya and Leo. Ethan confronted Maya gently the next day, hoping for clarity. I got a message last night, it said, to watch closely. What does that mean? Maya's face paled, and she quickly looked away. I can't explain right now. Please, just trust me. But trust was slipping through Ethan's fingers like grains of sand. Conflicted and emotionally drained, Ethan found himself caught between two painful choices: to believe Maya and hold on to the love they once shared, or to follow the mounting suspicions that whispered betrayal in his ear. His heart screamed for answers, but the fear of what he might discover paralyzed him. Could he handle the truth if it shattered everything he held dear? One evening, as Ethan sat alone in the dark, his phone buzzed again. This time, the message was a photo: Maya laughing with Leo, their faces close, a closeness that felt too intimate to be innocent. The image burned into Ethan's mind, igniting a storm of jealousy and heartbreak. He stared at the screen, torn between confronting Maya and retreating into the safety of ignorance. Was this the moment his world would break? Or could love survive the shadows of doubt? Ethan's internal struggle was far from over. Every heartbeat echoed with the question, who is Maya really? And more terrifyingly, who is he to her now? Ethan couldn't shake the gnawing feeling that he was missing something vital, something Maya wasn't telling him. The more he tried to piece together the fragments of their fractured relationship, the more the shadows around Leo deepened. Then, one evening, everything changed. Ethan was scrolling through his phone when he received a call from an unknown number. The voice on the other end was calm but deliberate. I think you need to know the truth about Maya, the stranger said. Ethan's heart pounded. Who is this? What truth? There's no easy way to say this: Maya isn't who you think she is. Before Ethan could respond, the line went dead. Shaken but desperate, Ethan searched for answers. His instincts told him the stranger was someone close, someone who had seen what he hadn't. He remembered Armand's earlier warnings and decided to confront him. Armand hesitated but eventually revealed a secret. Maya and Leo had a history that went far deeper than friendship. Years ago, they had been involved in something dangerous, a scandal involving deceit, betrayal, and lies. Armand's voice was heavy with regret. They were involved in a business deal that went wrong. Leo has been trying to protect Maya, but there's more to the story. Ethan's mind reeled. Was Maya protecting him from this mess, or was she protecting herself? The next day, Ethan confronted Maya with what he had learned. Her face was pale, her eyes filled with a mixture of guilt and fear. You have to tell me everything, Ethan demanded. No more secrets. Maya took a deep breath and began to unravel the truth. Years ago, before Ethan's accident, Maya and Leo had been entangled in a risky business venture that ended in betrayal. Maya had been forced to cut ties with Leo to protect Ethan and herself. But when you were gone, Leo came back, she explained. He said he needed to make sure I was safe. I never wanted to hurt you. Ethan listened, stunned. The woman he thought he knew was caught in a web of danger and deception, struggling to keep everyone safe, including him. The revelation shattered Ethan's trust, but it also ignited a fierce determination to protect Maya, no matter what. As the truth came to light, the dynamics between Ethan, Maya, and Leo shifted dramatically. Leo's role evolved from a mysterious outsider to a conflicted protector. His presence became less threatening and more complicated, a man torn between past loyalties and present realities. Maya, once distant and secretive, became vulnerable, opening a door to rebuild trust with Ethan. But the scars ran deep. Ethan struggled with his feelings: anger at the betrayal, confusion over Maya's choices, and a lingering fear of losing her again. The triangle between them was charged with unresolved tension, each interaction loaded with unspoken words and fragile emotions. Ethan's next steps were unclear. Should he forgive Maya and face the danger together? Or was their love too fractured to survive the storm? One thing was certain: Nothing would ever be the same. The night was thick with tension, the kind that tightened Ethan's chest and made every breath feel heavy. The city outside was alive with distant noises, but inside the apartment, everything was silent, a fragile calm before the storm. Ethan paced, his thoughts racing. The revelation about Maya and Leo had shattered the fragile peace he was trying to build, and now, he stood at a crossroads that could change everything. Maya sat on the couch, her eyes weary but resolute. Leo stood by the window, his face unreadable, watching the streets below. The three of them had been pulled into a complicated web of secrets, lies, and danger, and tonight, it all came to a head. Ethan finally stopped pacing and faced them both. "I need answers. No more hiding." Maya looked at Ethan, her voice trembling. "There's something I've never told you, something I was too afraid to admit." Ethan's heart clenched. "Tell me." She swallowed hard. "Leo and I, we made a mistake. The business deal went bad, yes, but it wasn't just about money. There were people involved, dangerous people who wanted to hurt us both." Leo stepped forward, his voice steady but intense. "I came back because they're still after us. And now, Ethan, you're in danger too." Ethan's world spun. Danger? After everything he'd been through? His instinct was to protect Maya, but the weight of the unknown threatened to crush him. Suddenly, the doorbell rang sharply, breaking the silence. Everyone froze. "Who is it?" Ethan demanded. Maya's face went pale. "They've found us." Before anyone could react, the door burst open. Two men in dark clothing stormed inside, their eyes cold and unforgiving. Ethan's adrenaline surged. He grabbed a nearby lamp, ready to defend himself and Maya. Leo moved swiftly, positioning himself between the attackers and the couple. "Stay back." Leo shouted, his voice fierce. A struggle erupted. Ethan's world narrowed to the fight, the need to protect, to survive. In the chaos, Maya was shoved to the floor. Ethan's fury exploded as he lunged at one of the attackers, throwing punches fueled by fear and anger. The fight was brutal and swift. Leo managed to overpower one man while Ethan wrestled the other to the ground. When it was over, the attackers fled, leaving behind a chilling silence. Ethan collapsed against the wall, heart pounding, sweat mixing with tears. Maya crawled to his side. "Are you okay?" He looked into her eyes, the love and fear mirrored there. "We need to get out of here, now." As they packed quickly, Ethan felt the weight of everything pressing down. The danger was real, the trust fragile, and the future uncertain. But there was one choice he knew he had to make. "Whatever happens, I'm with you," Ethan said, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside. Maya nodded, relief flooding her face. Leo hesitated, then said, "We'll face this together." Outside, the night air was cold, but alive with possibility. Ethan took Maya's hand, feeling the warmth and strength it offered. The fight had pushed them to the edge, but it had also forced them to face the truth, to decide what mattered most. In that moment, Ethan realized the battle was far from over. But so long as they stood together, there was hope. The dawn filtered softly through the curtains, casting a gentle glow on the quiet room where Ethan and Maya sat side by side, finally alone after the chaos. The storm had passed, but its echoes lingered, wrapped in silence and unspoken truths. Ethan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of everything he had been through settle inside him. The danger, the secrets, the betrayals that had all brought him to this moment of fragile peace. He looked at Maya, her eyes still carrying traces of fear but also a quiet strength he hadn't seen before. "We made it through," he said softly. "But I need to know, where do we go from here?" Maya reached for his hand, her touch warm and steady. "We rebuild," she whispered. "Not just a trust between us, but everything. I was scared of losing you, scared of the past catching up. But hiding it only made things worse." Ethan nodded, feeling a shift inside him. The pain of betrayal had been raw, but it had also opened his eyes to a deeper truth about love and forgiveness. He realized that no relationship was perfect, but what mattered was the willingness to fight for it. "I pretended to forget you," he admitted, voice thick with emotion. "Not because I wanted to hurt you, but because I needed to understand if you were really here for me. Maya's eyes filled with tears. I was scared you wouldn't believe me, but I never stopped loving you. Their hands tightened around each other, sealing an unspoken promise. In the days that followed, they worked together to untangle the mess left by Leo's past. Leo himself decided to step back, understanding that his presence complicated their fragile new beginning. He left town quietly, leaving behind only a note: protect her. Protect each other. Ethan felt a mix of relief and sadness. Leo had been a thorn in their side, but also a reminder of the shadows they had to face. Letting him go was part of their healing. Gradually, Ethan began to reclaim his life, going back to work, reconnecting with friends, and rebuilding the pieces of himself that had been shattered by the accident and the lies. But the biggest change was in his heart. Where once he had been filled with doubt and suspicion, he now found room for trust and hope. The scars remained, but they no longer defined him. Maya was by his side every step of the way. Together, they learned to communicate honestly, to face fears without running, and to embrace the imperfections that made their love real. One afternoon, as they sat in a quiet park, Ethan turned to Maya and smiled. I don't want to pretend anymore about anything. No more secrets, just us. Maya smiled back, a tear slipping down her cheek. Just us. In that moment, surrounded by the soft sounds of life around them, Ethan felt a new beginning blossoming, fragile, beautiful, and real. His journey had taught him that love wasn't about perfection or certainty, but about courage, forgiveness, and the willingness to fight for what truly mattered. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky with hues of gold and pink, Ethan whispered a silent promise to himself to never let fear steal his happiness again. And for the first time in a long time, he believed that maybe, just maybe, they could build a future together, one honest day at a time.